Grand Rising, Grand Arrival, Grand Return. I hope y'all can hear me. Um, I have no idea. I forgot to plug this. Grand Rising, Grand Arrival, Grand Return. Hope y'all can hear me. You can. And now I can hear myself. Just give me a minute while I figure out what's going on here. See if I can change the title. Just give me a moment. Okay, it's not gonna let me change the title. Uh, all right, it won't let me do that. Let me see. I'm going to. It's just not showing up the way that it's supposed to. Let me see if um, what happens if I do it like this? Hmm, I don't even like this. Y'all know normally I go straight to work, but it's a little bit of whatever. I'm trying to make it look normal. Like, it's looking normal on my screen, but not. I don't understand. So I'm not showing up the way that I want to. Okay, it literally didn't do at all what it's supposed to do. Okie dokie. We're not going to worry about this. All right, so let me start my recording. So, um, let's see how this works. So again, Grand Rising, Grand Arrival, Grand Return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and repentant alike. I am Cleopatra Sophia the Bodhi, and we are here to have a discussion about three general topics. The first thing we're going to talk about is the vow to terms. Terms is the actual um entity for the vow day, right? And so normally um when we have a vow day, I will let y'all know that it's a vow day so that you can make your vow. Last time it was a little bit more notice, but I couldn't pull it together this time. Obviously I'm trying to make some new technology function. So you see that's also not going so great. So um I'll leave the live stream up, but I'm also gonna, since I started recording the meeting, I'm going to separate it out and allow y'all to not have to see this very traumatic prep that I had to do. So I can see the chat. So if you have questions or anything like that, while I'm going over the information, please do not hesitate to put it in the chat. Let's go ahead and I need to uh I need to stop my share and oh I'm going to share the website. Oh, I don't have it up. Hold on. That's my mistake. Let me. No, it's not here. Hold on. Why? Obviously, I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm really surprised I could even pull this together at all. Um, oh shoot. Well, that's why I can't do it. Hold on. Let me. The website I need to share is on the same. I need to put it on my other what's the name so I can share it. So just bear with me for a minute. Eventually we'll get better at this. When I cannot tell you. This has been an adventure. I hope everyone is enjoying their Feast of Booths. We are just about done. I know that we kind of picked it up in the middle, but that's the way it happens sometimes. So now let me share the website. Here we go. It didn't even let me see it before. Of course, now I can see it. All right, so I don't know. I don't even know what y'all can see. Um, but I'm gonna go ahead and read this website. So while I'm reading this, I'm not gonna be able to see the. Did I? No, I didn't mess it up. There we go. So while I'm reading this, I'm not gonna exactly be able to see what you guys are seeing. And if people make comments, I won't be able to see that. So, anyway, we'll try to piece it together later because I want to read from this. Okay, so we have our vow day coming up. When you have a vow day, as I mentioned previously, that's the day that you make a vow to a certain entity. Now, it's important to understand how vows work. So, like I mentioned in the video about Poseidon, you can go into the Bible, pick any vow, and imitate it the way that you want to um make the vowel sound. Now, one of the issues is I would not use vowels from Abraham, okay? Because Abraham seems to be a prolific liar. I don't know how else to put it. Something is going on with him, so we're not going to be tapping in too much of what Abraham was doing because something is going on there. But any of the other prophets or kings, basically the good ones who made vows, you can take their language and modify it for yourself. And when we're done with this, I'll tell you what I'm going to use for my vow. You're more than welcome to use a similar version, okay? So let's read about terms. Now, oh, I forgot the rest of my notes. All right, I'm not going to worry about it. So the reason I know it's terms, okay, so last time I knew was Poseidon because Poseidon is the ruler of the Pisces temple, okay? So if you've seen my temple videos and you understand what I'm saying. Now, this coming up with terms was a little bit different. This is based on the lunar mansions, and terms is the ruler of the lunar mansion. So the vow day is tomorrow, by the way. So again, sunrise tomorrow to sunrise on Monday. So basically, almost the last day of the Feast of Booth. So in a different year, we would have gone through this whole cycle, right? And then this whole feast, and then by right before the feast ends, then we would have made our vow to whoever whatever. But also, it's not the same every year. But most years, it is the same. So when I start talking about the Zolkin cycle, you'll see what I mean. But basically, there's years when you do the whole 260 days in the course of one year, and then there's years where it's split up. So this is one of the years where you do the whole 260 days in the course of one calendar year. This happens like once every 5 years or something like that. We'll go into that when we talk about the actual Zolkin um cycle. Okay. So based on the, again, like I said, the lunar mansion for tomorrow, that's how I figured out was terms. Now, terms is the same as Mercury. So we also have Mercury going into Scorpio. Scorpio's temple is ruled by Aries. So we're going to ask for a Mercury thing, which is a message to be completed by Aries, which is the um or basically we're asking Mercury to take the message to Aries to finish the job, because Aries is the god of offensive war. He is the one who is the god of, hey, wrap this thing up. We're done here. Okay. That's who Aries is. And so we're going to be asking Mercury to carry a message to Aries to wrap this thing up. Okay, now what the thing is, we'll get to that. All right. But first, let's read about terms, because I want to always be respectful of these energies. These energies, again, are not to be worshiped. We are not worshiping these entities. What we're doing is we're working with them, okay? And I'm going to continue to say that because there's a lot of people out here worshiping these entities and they're wondering why things aren't working out the way that they want to. And it's because they're worshiping them, and they should not be worshiping them. They should be working with them, okay? So, and this is just from Wikipedia. We don't have to go into no magic books and none of that stuff. We will eventually get back to that, but it's not necessary to understand this kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, if you try to mix like ceremonial magic with this, it's not going to work at all. Ceremonial magic requires, and I've said this on my live streams with CryptodeMedici, if you've heard any of them, ceremonial magic requires an initiation. This is folk magic, okay? No initiation required. It works because it works, okay? This is a natural order. We don't need a ceremony. This is not blood in, blood out. This is freely we have been given, so freely we give. Okay, this is the freely thing that we're given freely. Okay, so we turn around and use this to freely give. All right, and that's something we're going to talk about in my next discussion with CryptodeMedici. We're going to go through this whole freely given and freely give thing. Okay, so in Etruscan religion, terms was the equivalent of Roman Mercury and Greek Hermes, both gods of trade and the messenger god between people and gods. He was depicted with the same distinctive attributes as Hermes and Mercury, a caduceus, a petasos, often winged. Soul to the afterlife. In this capacity, he is sometimes shown on Etruscan sarcophagi. In one case, side by side with Charun and Cerberus, in depiction in which God is labeled, in which the god is labeled as terms Aetes or terms of Hades, he brings the shade of Tyresis. Sorry, I have to butcher the names, but to consult with Odysseus in the underworld. Terms also appears in images depicting the judgment of Paris, which is the Trojan War. Okay, that's a part of the Trojan War, as well as in scenes with Heracles or Perseus. The name terms is distinctly of Etruscan origin, like that of Flumes, but in contrast to deities such as Hercule, Apollo, or Apollo, whose names were borrowed from Greek. Terms is known from more from decoration on everyday objects such as mirrors than from cult images. So he was a folk god, okay? That's what that means. Although one dedication has been taken to indicate the existence of a temple of terms at Cortona. Bernard Combe Farneau interprets comments by Servius and Macrobius indicating that Hermes terms had the epithet Camillus, meaning servant, i.e., of the other deities. A scholium on Callimachus, or like sounds like calligraphy, adds that Cadmilos is Hermes in Tyrrhenia. Combe Farnol considers Camillus and Cadmilos to be variants of the same name. Terms is also the name of a character in a historical novel. Okay, so that's all they have on terms. So basically, you can see that this is a messenger god. Okay, this is a god who specifically works at the direction of Jupiter or Gaia or Zad Zadkiel or yeah Zadkiel. Okay, Barashio. So he specifically works for Jupiter, but he also carries messages to the other gods. And because that word Kalimos looks so much like calligraphy, this is something that you want to write down, okay? Um, and it says his decoration is from everyday objects. Let's see if we can find out what um their everyday objects were. And that might be useful. Culture. Religion, architecture, art and music, language, literature. Which one of these? Let's see. That's the letters, literature, language, everyday objects. All right, let's look at their religion. The Etruscan system of belief was an immanent polytheism. That is, all visible phenomena were considered to be a manifestation of divine power, and that power was subdivided into deities that acted continually on the world of man and could be dissuaded or persuaded in favor of human affairs. How to understand the will of the deities and how to behave have been revealed to the Etruscans by two initiators. Tages, a childlike figure born from tilled land and immediately gifted with prescience, and Vigoia, a female figure. Okay, we'll click on her. Their teachings were kept in a series of sacred books. Three layers of deities are evident in the extensive Etruscan motifs. One appears to be divinities of indigenous nature, Catha and Usil, the sun, Tivir, the moon, Selvins, a civil god, Turin, the goddess of love, Lauren, the goddess of war, Lineth, the goddess of death, Maris, of course, Mary's everywhere, always associated with death. Fauna, because the womb, anyway, patriarchy does not understand the womb. So, of course, they would associate Mary with death. Okay. Fauna, terms, and the ever popular Fufluns, possibly the god of the people, must be related to Jupiter. Um, Ruling over this pantheon of lesser deities were higher ones that seemed to reflect the Indo-European system. Ten or Tenia, the sky, Uni, his wife, Juno, Sel, the earth goddess, and some Greek and Roman gods were inspired by the Etruscan system. Our Aritemi, which is Artemis, Minerva, pa- Pachka, that sounds like Pascha, which is Dionysus. Makes sense. The Greek here is taken from Homer, also appear extensively in art motifs. Okay, where are we gonna start? Let's start with their war guide, um, Larian, and then we'll come back and look at Vigoya. All right, because we just want to see if we get some more information. So in Etruscan mythology and religion, Laran, Laran or Larun is Larun, okay, is the god of war. He is sometimes portrayed as a naked youth wearing a helmet, a cuirass carrying a spear, shield, or lance. Laran also appears to be an underworld god, definitely our Aries, okay? Among his attributes is his responsibility to maintain peace. Again, our Aries. According to some scholars, he also seems to have been the guardian of boundaries, as shown by the boundary sipi found in Betona with the inscriptions Tular Lana and Tular Larns. Along with eight other Etruscan gods, he can wield lightning because he's in the death, right? He's in the dark half of the chart. I mean, Scorpio is in the dark half of the chart, so you have to have a way to bring the light, to bear the light, okay? Due to the Tabula Capuna, we know that the Loran festival was celebrated on the Ides of May. Um, I have to come back and take notes later. Laran is the Etruscan equivalent of the Greek god Ares and the Roman Mars. Like many other Etruscan gods, his name is gender neutral. Previous scholarship thought that Mars, a mysterious figure, was the Etruscan god of war due to the similarity of the name to the Roman god Mars. However, this has been disproven, and Laran has been identified as the Etruscan god of war. Yes, because Maris is someone else, so maybe we'll get to that one day. Laran is also shown in the company of another Etruscan god, Lurs. Um, oh, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Okay, evidence shows that Etruscan deities could be prepared meals by priests for the god in utilitarian wear. An inscription found implies that meals were prepared in his honor. Inscriptions have been found showing evidence of cult worship of Laran. One description states that the person offering the vase belonged to Lurs, which is of which a who of which is Laran. Due to the Tabula Capuna, we know the festival of Laran is celebrated the Ides of May. Laran and Laroon. Let's just take a look at who this guy is. Lurs. I'm just curious. All right, so Lurs is an underworld deity. So he's probably like Hades, right? Lur does not have many depictions, but ones that have been found show the deity as a male. He has been noted to be associated with prophetic nature while bearing oracular and marital characteristics. He has been linked to another deity by the name of Laran, which it has been suggested is where Lur derives his name from. The context of the name has been associated with a darkness and underworld. A 5th century vase found near the sanctuary of San Giovenel bears an inscription that translates, I am Lur's, that of Luran. Another inscription have been found spelling Lartla, noting relations to Lar, which gives the label to Lur that describes the features of protection. The name may be related to the Latin luridus, which is pale. I'm not going to read all this. All right, let's go back to whoever that lady was. This is fascinating. All right. I wanted to see that lady. Here we go. Vigoya. Now, who is this? Ah, a prophetess. Vigoya is a sibyl or a prophet or a nymph within the Etruscan religious framework who is identified as the author of parts of their large and complex set of sacred books detailing the religiously correct methods of founding deities and shrines, draining fields, formulating laws and ordinances, measuring space and dividing time. She initiated Etruscan people into the arts as originating the rules and rituals of the land, marking and as presiding over observance, respect, and preservation of the boundaries. Vigoya is also known as Viku, Vicui, Vicuvia, as well as Vigo, Bigo, or Bigos. I wonder if that's related to like begonias or something. Of course, it's a prophetess. Of course. See how they love to just like, I mean, This I didn't know this. So basically, okay, let me pause for the cause. We have Turms. That's the one who is going to deliver the message. But we are coming to terms as Vigoya. Because obviously Vigoya was a title. We know that these things are always titles. So as the Vigoya, as the Sibyls, as the prophetesses, we are coming to terms to relay a message to Lar Laroon, Larloon, what's his name again? I should really be writing some of this stuff down. I don't even, okay. Let's take some notes. So, terms, because the more specific we can be, the more likely we are to get exactly what we're asking for. I talked about that a little bit with CryptodeMedici too. It's like a lock. Like when people are just very general and they don't do this research, like I didn't think this was going to take that long to just look into what is actually going on, to get more clarification, more clarity on what exactly is going on here. They end up asking the wrong questions. Like, um, okay, so Terms is the messenger. We want to take the message to Laron, who is Aries, from Vigoya, Goia, who is the prophetess. All right, let's read the attributes. This is fascinating. The figure of Vigolia is almost entirely blurred in the mist of the past. Of course she is. She is known mostly for the traditions of the Etruscan city Chiusi. I'm not reading all that. Now Siena. The revelations of the prophetess Vigolia are designated as the Libri Vigosi that included the Libri Fig Fulgarales and part of the Libri Rituales, especially the Libri Fatales. She's barely designated as a nymph, and as the author of the Libra Fulgurales that give the keys that give the keys to interpreting the meaning of the lightning strokes sent by the deities using cartography of the sky as a sort of property division and use assignment is attributed to Vigoya. Her assignment of sectors in the horizon to various deities is paralleled in the microcosm that is interpreted using the liver of sacrificed animal. The sacred divisions also seem to have a correspondence in the measurement and division of the land that, since the very dawn of Etruscan history, obeyed religious rules. Her dictates thought to correct methods of measuring space. Did y'all? Her dictates taught the correct methods of measuring space. All right, so that's what we're asking for. We are delivering the correct methods of measuring space. This is exactly what I was going to ask for, but this was not the language I was going to use. So this is fabulous. Vigoya was also depicted as lording over the observation of these rules. Oh, someone has to keep the records, okay? To be upheld under threat of dire woe or malediction. Thus, she was established as the power presiding over land property and land property rights, laws, and contracts, as distinct from commercial contract laws. Yo, I can't make this up. Like, I literally cannot make this up. She is also indicated as having established the laws relative to hydraulic works, just having a special relationship to tamed water, which has to deal with the. I was just reading this. Okay. Let's take a look at I need somewhere to put this, which has to deal with the wells. I was just reading the scripture. Let's take a look at Genesis 26. This is my, of course, my Orthodox Study Bible. I'm gonna hold it up in a minute. I was literally just reading this. Yeah, Genesis 26. My Orthodox Study Bible. I'll be carrying these shortly. If you can't wait, if you can wait, but you're gonna need to get you one of these, okay? Because even the one online doesn't read the same as this one. All right, so this is talking about a famine. So there are 13 famines in the Bible, okay? So each of these 13 famines has to deal with one of the 13 days of our global, no, is it 13 is it, wait a minute, let me make sure I said that right because it might have to do with nine. Um, yeah, 13. There's 13 There's 13 famines in the Bible. Each of the 13 famines has to deal with one of the 13 days of our 13-day cycle, which is a very distinct cycle. There's no other place this 13-day cycle happens. So today we are on day 2, I believe, of the 13-day cycle. Let me just double check that. Which I did say in my reading, but in my little short 1-minute video, but I haven't explained what any of this stuff means. I'm just, yes, we are on day 2 of the 13-day cycle. So this is the famine affiliated with day 2 of the 13-day cycle. But let me tell y'all what famine means. Um, so I don't have to go into this later. All right, so the spirit of famine is, or it's known as Rahab in the Hebrew and Lyman in the Greek, means port, harbor, haven, and is synonymous for agora, which is assembly or market, um, for lake, as in lake of fire, which is which really refers to the southwestern wind and liberation from torture through the south, which the southern wind is known as Notus and the western wind is Zephyrus. So that's what the spirit of famine is. It is port harbor. So famine basically is when you the port, this spirit collects a toll. It's this spirit, Rahab, sets up a toll booth to collect um water, obviously, because what does a famine do? When you have a famine, there's a lack of water. So Rahab sets up a toll booth to collect the water. And um when I was doing the research on that, it said that Notice was the spirit that was let loose to cause the flood. So it's Notice and Zephyrus, which brings us the southwest wind, that basically is the liberation from the torture. So in order to be liberated from Rahab, we need Notice and Zephyrus to be released onto the land. That's another point to this. This whole thing is going to be written by the time I'm done. This is great. So we need Notice and Zephyrus. Zephrus to be released. And those two entities bring the water. The water will flood out the wickedness. I mean, what else can we do? We need to finish the job. This wickedness got to be removed from this planet. We've been tiptoeing around it, going very gently, allowing for these people to repent and get themselves together. Now we need the flood. But we need a very certain kind of flood. It's the flood that's going to, because that whole lake of fire thing, again, like I just read, it is the releasing from the lake of fire. This southwestern wind releases, it liberates you from that mental sin, that mental, I did something wrong. I have to earn it. I'm not good enough and all that stuff. That's literally what that is about. That's what that has to deal with. Okay, so now let me get into Genesis. So I'm going to start um I'm going to start at verse 12. Even though the famine is in verse 1, I'm going to start in verse 12 because that's where it talks about the water and what happened. So then Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. The man began to prosper and continued prospering until he became very prosperous, for he had herds of sheep and oxen and many fields. So the Philistines envied him. So now the Philistines had stopped up all the wells his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, and they had filled them with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." Then Isaac departed from there and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. Hold on. Yes. All right. Again, Isaac dug the wells of water they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names his father called them. Also, Isaac's servants dug into the valley of Gerar and found a well of fresh water there. But the herdsmen of Gerar fought with Isaac's herdsmen saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Injustice, because they quarreled with them. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that one also. So he called its name Enmity. So he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not fight over it. Thus he called its name room, because he said, "Now the Lord made room for us and has increased us in the land." So, a few things to take from that, okay? When Isaac went out and he was able to start producing, the first thing he did was dig a well. Now, I don't know exactly what that whole digging a well has to do with, except for it sounds like it has to do with Vigoya. And literally, she established the laws relative to hydraulic works, thus having a special relationship to tamed water. And what is a well? A well is tamed water. So, wells are very important. Um, Maybe like wishing wells. I don't know. We'll have to look into the mythology at some point, but this is something that Abraham did, went around and dug all these wells. He had his people dig all these wells. And so, how many wells do you see? I grew up on well water. I remember well water. Both of my grandmothers had well water, so I'm familiar with it. But how many people really know about well water? Probably not a lot. And that's one of the things that I wanted to have done is an artisanal well. So that's something that we have to think about, like in general, like maybe like if with Vagoya, with Vagoya's blessing, once we are um once room is made for us, right? He called it room. Once room is made for us, because then God is going to increase us in the land, that will dig a well in her honor. So that's how we get her to help us out too. Okay. This is coming together quite nicely. So, okay. So let's see if there's anything else. Relationship to who is Agaria? Okay, let's keep reading. Good thing I said let's just keep looking. All right, so while the Roman religion has precious little written basis, they nonetheless had very abstruse texts known as the Sibylline books that were under the exclusive control of special religious figures. The Dumviri, then the Decemviri. The books were resorted to solely in times of ultimate crisis. The devolution of these sacred books to the Romans through the Rocambolesque scene was attributed to the Etruscan Tarquinius Superbus, the last of the legendary kings of Rome, hence their relationship to Vigoya. So this guy Tariq, let's call him Tariq, was the last king of Rome, and he was an Etruscan. And when they came to an ultimate crisis, that's when they went into the Sibylline books. So you know that's what they've been doing, digging through these Sibylline books, trying to figure out how they're going to get themselves out of this crisis. But they don't understand. Vigoya has called us in to assist with delivering the correct methods of measuring space, which is the calendar, which is time. Okay. Okay, likewise, one may suspect that the legend of Egeria is related to Vigoya. Egeria is the name of the nymph who inspired the second legendary king of Rome, Numa Pompilius. In Latin, numen designates the expressed will of a deity who succeeded its founder Romulus when she dictated to him the rules that established the original framework for of laws and rituals of Rome that also are associated with sacred books. Why they got that in quotes, I don't know. Numa is reputed to have written down the teachings of Ageria in sacred books that he caused to be buried with him. According to Plutarch, when the chance accident brought them back to light some 500 years later, the books were deemed by the Roman Senate to be inappropriate for disclosure. Uh-oh, here's these secret books and to the people, and they ordered that the books were destroyed. What made these sacred books inappropriate was certainly of a political nature, but precisely what that was has not been handed down by Valerius Antius, the source that Plutarch was using. However, sacred books were the source used to interpret the abstruse omens of deities. Episode of the omen from Phanus. Sacred books were also associated with beneficial water, which also would have been linked to Vagoya. So sacred books were also associated with a beneficial water. Okay, so like I said, if you've got rain where you are before the last day of the feast, please collect you some rainwater. I was unable to do that, but if you've got rain where you are, please collect some rainwater. Okay, this is quite important. Beneficial water is tied into this lady, Vagoya, right? So let me stop sharing for a minute so I can summarize. Well, actually, let me before I stop sharing. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Anyway, before I stop sharing, and we go to exactly what this vow should look like, let me show you guys the website. And so this is my announcement that my website is up. All right. It is up. It is available. I have some stuff on here and some more stuff will be on here. You can see I have the body oil. My seasoning blend is on here. Um, the gum syrup, which is we talked about that a little bit, but I'm not gonna go into huge detail about this. Also, like protein powder, mushroom coffee, mushroom espresso, which would be mushroom coffee and espresso. This flag here, which is in my background. This is our motherland America flag. You can also get this here. This ships from a third party, so they make it direct and ship it. I did post a picture with this flag on my birthday, but I hadn't announced where you could find it or anything like that. Let me just click on this so you guys can see it since I haven't talked about it at all. Do we have a proper picture of the flag? or that's pretty weird that it doesn't. Okay, anyway, the flag features when I go out of this, I'll pull it up. But it features the American flag because of course we're American, and it also has the gold, the sword and the these are breadfruit leaves, by the way, from the Black American flag. But I didn't like the fact that the flag was red and black, because black is related to death, and red is blood. So that's really a death flag. Just like the Haitian people rejected that red and black flag they tried to give them, we reject a flag with black in it. We don't need that. Okay. Um, So other stuff that you can see on here, I do have all of my readings on here. Except for the, no, I even think I put the new ones on here. So, and I'm also going to be using this as the location where I like put a lot of my writings and stuff that I put on Twitter. I'll be coming back and writing about this. So, like, if you haven't gotten any of these readings, these are all on here. The Enchanting by Scales reading, I'm going to make a separate video. We'll talk about that soon. Um, it's been a lot going on. All of this, oh, here's a better. This is the bandana. So it comes in flag size and it also comes in a bandana size. I got a large bandana. I think next time I will get a small bandana because the large one is really large, and it's square, so it doesn't look, it's not like a flag. And then my enchanting, we'll talk about that too. Please don't go in there and order any of my readings if you've already paid for readings for me. Please just, when I do the video, send me a message, because there's no way I'm going to keep charging people for this stuff. Every time I find something new, I got to come back and charge people for a bunch of junk. I refuse to do that, and I won't do that, okay? So just send me a message. But the tea blends will be on here too. If you got any of my baskets, you're familiar with the teas will be on here. They're not quite up here yet. I have a lot more work to do, and see, there's a 25% off, but it won't apply to the stuff that's third party, which includes that's really cool. I didn't even know that was on here. So thanks to the brother who built this website for me. I'm sure he has no idea what he's gotten into fooling around with me, but the website's done. So it's too late. So let me stop sharing for a minute and go back to see my flag here. I got out a bunch of junk, but you can see I put it, I got it. I just love the colors, by the way. We really got to get back into our red, white, blue, and gold. And it lines up with the calendars and all that stuff, but I'll be again talking about that recently. So let me just pull this up so that I can ramble on for a few minutes about um the other stuff. So, oh, let me look at, I can, and I'll also be able to look at the if anybody made any comments, which I don't see no comments. Perfect. So, um let me see what I put on this thing. What was the third thing? Oh, the retirement wrap up. Okay. So this is what I want to say about that. The retirement wrap up. 3 years ago, I made a video and I shared it. And I already made another video about it, but I need to make another video about it. 3 years ago, I made a video and I said, is it time to retire? And so I determined that, at least for myself and for the diviners, that we need to be retired. And retired just means that instead of them getting all of their divining from us and putting all the sins of this divining on us as if it is our fault, now they're gonna have to bear the sins of their divining, because that's what they did. And I said Benjamin in my video, but I really meant Issachar. Issachar was the diviner. He was the one who had the capacity to connect the heavens and the earth. That was his literal job. And they literally put every single sin on him, just like they said they did to Sammy Heiser or Satan. We'll have to go and do the word decode on that at a later date and time, right? So, as a result of all of this stuff that has been going on, we have basically the ones who are the diviners, who are these Vagoyas, right? Vagoyas. I think I like Vagoya better than Sybil. But the Vagoyas are the ones who have been basically blamed for everything. Like, oh, you silly women, y'all said it was going to rain, but it rained too much. It did this, it did that. We wanted to do it like this. And really, what it was is these kings, these wicked kings, and all these wicked people, they did not want to do right. And so, systematically, they literally removed all of the women who had the capacity to engage in this kind of behavior. They literally just removed them. So, as a result of removing these women, you now have this whole scenario where everything is chaotically out of order. Nobody knows what's going on, and you got them predicting the apocalypse every 5 seconds, even though there's no way possible there's even going to be an apocalypse because they don't have any energy to create an apocalypse. But they're still predicting an apocalypse. They're still predicting the rapture. Now they're saying it's going to be on the 13th, it's going to be on the 29th. It's like, no, everyone has to stay here and learn how to love themselves. That's literally what the bottom line is. You have to learn how to love yourself. Now, my readings, the enchanting readings, are going to be very helpful for that, because the enchanting readings are all about you. That's why I said, if you've already gotten a reading from me, don't go on that website and buy it. I'm going to be very upset and I'm going to send your money back. Don't do it, because it doesn't make any sense. A lot of the information I already had for you, once you see what is goes into what is included, and you just send me a message, okay? I'm just not gonna do that, okay? It doesn't make any sense, especially if you got a lot of stuff from me. Don't do it, okay? Um, but the point of the matter is, when I said it was time, is it time to retire? That was a signal. That was really what started this whole thing of, you know, this system basically coming apart, falling apart at the seams. Everything that is happening today, I see, stems from that one statement where we said we were not going to bear the burden, the yoke of literally everybody's sin in the world. And so the reason why I wanted to separate this out and do a wrap up is because that is all the fallen Air Kadeshi, the Dare Kadeshi they call them, and the Air Kadeshi. All they have to say is no. If they stand up and say no, we will not bear the brunt of you guys' mess. Like, you guys have to deal with your own mess. And they just say no. That's all that's required. And so that's what I'm saying to you. All you have to do to retire is to say no. And you can say no, thank you, if you feel better about that, but you say no. So whoever these people are, they just keep trying to press you and push you and force you to do things that you don't want to do, just say no. Say no, thank you, if that makes you feel better, but definitely say no. The answer is no. No, I'm not dealing with this anymore. No, I'm not doing this for you. No, I'm not helping you. No, I'm not solving your problem. No, I'm not coming into work and doing extra. No, I'm not doing anything extra for anybody. I'm doing what's necessary. I'm flowing with the energy. I'm learning the lessons I need to learn, and I'm moving through this life cycle with ease. When we started picking up everyone's burdens and saying, yes, I'll take your burden, I'll take this burden, I'll take that burden, we started picking up everyone's burdens. And what happened as we picked up everyone's burdens is that they just kept passing them to us and passing them to us, and nobody took on any of their own burdens. And now everyone has to take on their own burdens, but they can't take on their own burdens if you don't say no. So you literally must tell these people no. Tell these spirits no. No, I'm not doing this, because the point of the matter is that you can't earn salvation, okay? It's given to you freely. The Creator created us to rule co-jointly as heirs with Jesus. And so if he created us to rule as co-heirs, who are you asking permission from? The king doesn't ask permission from anybody to do what he does except the gods. This is why our vows are to the gods. This is why the gods initiate us. A human cannot initiate us. I said folk magic, there was no initiation. That's not exactly true. The gods initiate us. They tell us how to read their energy. They tell us how to decipher the messages they're sending out. They tell us how to make sense of what's going on. These various gods. No man can initiate you. I can't initiate you. All I can do is say, hey, this is kind of seems like how this is working, but you're going to have to observe it for yourself because each of these entities will work with you differently based on whatever is in your chart. And there's nothing I can do about that. That's just it is what it is. But the people who practice ceremonial magic want it's like this whole thing with this fake equality, right? They want equality of results, not equality of access. And I was talking about this because in Brown versus Board of Education, the people who brought that case up, they wanted equality of money. They wanted their schools to receive the same amount of money as the white schools. And what did they do instead? Instead, they gave them equality of output, meaning, okay, you want this um we want everyone to have the same exact results when they go to school. So actually, we're going to integrate you. And the black people, the Brown in the Brown versus Board of Education, they were given like it was the day before the oral arguments when they told them what they were going to do. The professional victims unit that's getting their hind parts handed to them right now over there in that country, who were the lawyers for the NAACP, literally came to them and said, listen, hey, I know you got a nice thing going on there, but basically, this is what we're going to do. We are going to tell you what we're going to do, and that's going to be the end of it. We don't care what you think. We don't care how you feel. We don't care any of that. We're just going to do what we want. And what we want is to put these kids in the school, these other kids, so that they could mess everything up and disconnect us, even think they could disconnect us even more from the creator because they're doing a bad job at that. And so that's all they've done is make us think that we've been disconnected from our creator. Even so, even though we've clearly been connected, like once you again know what the energy of the creator looks like, know what it feels like, know what it smells like, and all that stuff, you can't help but see the creator everywhere you go. And that's literally exactly what's going on. So, this whole retirement thing, yeah, we're retired. We're retired from bearing the yoke of their burden. Now we have to do the other part of that scripture, which is freely we've been given. So we've been given the freedom to retire, but now we have to freely give. And the freely give part is to give people love, to give people what they need, to help people unconditionally without looking for something in return. That's the part that comes next. And that's the part that most people don't want to do. They only want to help people if they're going to get something back for it. That's not how it works. You have to help people because you were given freely. So freely you're going to give. That's literally how it works. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. That's the direction we're moving in. But we've been moving in this direction for 3 years. Y'all know this is what I've been talking about for 3 years. Literally, like this same exact point. And that matters because some things this took 3 years to really show up because of the interference. But now, especially with this calendar and these various cycles, not going to take that long to show up for the stuff we're asking for now. So, for example, let me give you a perfect example of this. Yesterday, I was like, okay, that's when I came to conclusion. And you'll hear, I didn't upload the video yet, so you'll see that sometime later tonight or in the morning. But yesterday, I came to the conclusion that, oh, God, the creator, is just going to give it to me freely. And all I want to, so what I said before I went to sleep was, hold on, I wrote it down because it was so simple. Okay. I just ask for the grace of God to be free from the burden of poverty and to be given a gift of the $5 million to share as good works. That's what I asked for. For the grace of God to be free from the burden of poverty and to be given the gift of the $5 million to share as good works. That's what I asked for. So when I simplified that into my brain, I was saying, I just want to be given, I want to share in the riches of the Creator. Can I share in the riches of the Creator? Like, what is that like? And so I had a dream, and in the dream, I was in this house, and the house had three doors, three front doors. I don't know what that's about, but the house had three front doors. And in the house, it was a nice house, but there were some things that were kind of messed up. Like the yard was kind of messed up. So me and one of my coworkers were like mowing the lawn and stuff like that. And white people kept driving by saying, "Do you guys work here?" And we were like, "No." I was like, "No, I live here. This is my house." Like again and again, over and over. But I didn't care because I was mowing the lawn and my friend was there and we were having a good time. Then I went into house and my dad was there and he was having some kind of troubles. And I was like, "Why are you even doing that? Just stop, just stop what you're doing. Sit here and chill, okay?" Then I went upstairs into one of the rooms, and another one of my coworkers there, a male who's from the Middle East, and he was talking about his son. Now mind you, he doesn't have a son, but he was talking about his son and his son's stuff and all of that. And I was like, since you helped me get into this house, right, you can just stay here, don't worry about it. Then there was a balcony, so I went out on the balcony, and when I walked around to the other side of the balcony, I saw a tennis court and I saw a basketball court that were both like in need of repair. They need to be repaved. Like they had like those surface level holes that you just need to repave it. And so in my mind I was like, oh, okay, well it's not too bad. I just need to repave it. And there was a parking lot with like an old beat up car in there. And I was thinking, man, I need to get another car. But um that was in my dream. So a few hours ago, I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see a picture of a house that was built in what, 1878? Let me look at this picture. 1838. The house was built in 1838, but it has three front doors. It has three front doors. It has a balcony. It's literally the house from my dream. Now, how I have a dream about a house that was built in 1838 because it was so distinct that it had these three front doors. And it says 721 this picture was posted. And I seen it and was like, "Oh my gosh, that was the picture. That was the house from my dream." And so then I was like, "Oh, let me go look on Zillow at houses. Maybe I'll find a house that has three front doors." Well, I found this house is beautiful. It's like it checks all the boxes, right? And I'm like, and it's literally in the neighborhood where I want to live in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been looking at houses for months. Like literally, I've been looking at, not for months, for years. I've been looking at houses and never saw one that was like, no, this is it. This is exactly what I asked for. It's exactly what I need right now to get started. Of course, it's a starter house because I have a lot of stuff that I'm going to do. And I never, that was so smooth. Like that whole, now I just asked last night, hey, creator, can you just share some of your riches with me? And then by less than 24 hours, I found a perfect house. And the house has been on the market for like 70 days. So that's a long time. That means they'll be motivated when I come and make my deal to make a deal. That's it. That's all. It's going to be very easy, very fast, very simple. They want what they want. No problem. I can give them what they want. Somehow, I guess, because this has been less than 24 hours. Now we have this very specific vow to make. So let's just recap the vow. And I may type this up. We'll see. So what we're doing is we're asking terms. No, wait, let's go back. On behalf of Vagoya, the prophetesses, the Sibyls, we're asking terms, the messenger god, to deliver a message to Laron, who is Aries, which is to release Notice and Zephyrus to be released onto the land so that we can deliver the correct methods of measuring space, which is the calendar. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for terms to deliver the message to Laron, who is Aries, to allow Notice and Zephyrus to be released onto the land so that we can deliver the correct methods of measuring space, which is our calendar, which we already have. It's perfect. It works. So that's what our vow is. And if Vigolia allows us to use her energy to deliver this message, we'll dig a well in her honor. I know I will. So if you want to think of something else, but I gave you all the pieces, you saw how I did the research. This is how I always do all of my research. It's very simple, very like look at what these people say, figure out where they're wrong, and just throw some new stuff onto it. So that should be very simple. So hopefully this video is helpful to people. I'm going to release, like I said, the video where I started recording so that all of that dead space is not just around, but I'm not going to take this video down. I'm just going to leave it unlabeled. So, of course, if anybody needs me for anything, please reach out. I'm starting to get back in order, especially now that this 30 days of mourning is done. And I'm kind of ready to move on to the next thing and really get things out here moving. So, shalom, everybody. Peace and blessings. And of course, we'll see you in the next video.